All right, family. Good evening, and blessings to you all. This is your brother G Hightower, the Entanglement Coach, coming in live on this wonderful Friday night. And I'm excited for this conversation tonight and excited for my guests that I have that we're going to share with you tonight, family. This is going to be some real good dialogue that we're going to have tonight. We're going to talk about several things regarding relationships, but we're especially going to cover a particular a particular topic with regards to relationships as we are looking to answer the question. Answer the question: did you wait too late for love? If we're honest, family, many of us, we have and are waiting too late. Oh, let me do this, family. I guess it would be important for me to go live so you all can see me. Hey, good evening. Blessings to you all. So listen, I want to delve into this conversation tonight, and I want to bring to you our special guest in just a couple of minutes. But listen, tonight I'm going to ask for you all to please share the broadcast, hit that share button. Let's go. Let's get some folks in on the broadcast, family. We got to help some people up in here tonight because there is a reality that many of us, if we're honest, many of us have bypassed, and this is true for men and women. This is not a men issue. This is not a women issue. This is a people issue where many of us, for various reasons, some of us have legitimate reasons as to why we did not pursue love, why we did not pursue marriage, why we waited for so long in our lives before we became, we got ourselves marriage ready. So there are some reasons that are legitimate things that we had to pursue. Some people have military commitments. Some people had academic pursuits. Some people had family concerns that they had to deal with, providing care for a parent or parents. Some people had children, and there were situations that were tied to that. But many of us, family, if we're honest, we just bypass good people in our lives for whatever reason, either because we decided that we weren't ready, or simply put, because I just didn't think marriage was important. And it's not until you move into the later stages of life where you realize, I don't want to be by myself for the rest of my life. Right? So listen, you all go ahead and share the broadcast, family. I'm going to bring up our special guest tonight. She is a wonderful, wonderful woman of God. She is a 3-time best-selling author. She is a business strategist. She is an educator. She is known as the Soulutionist. And she has also served honorably with the United States Marine Corps, several years of service, over 20 years of service with the United States Marine Corps. And she is none other than Brenda Warren, the Soulutionist. Brenda, good evening, dear. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, you're muted, Miss Brenda. You're muted.
I didn't mute me. That's on your end.
Okay, boom. I got you now. Hey, it's good to see you, Miss Brenda. Blessings to you. And listen, this is, I'm super excited about this broadcast tonight because there's so many wonderful conversations that we can have with regards to relationships. But I especially want to get your perspective on some of the things that we're going to delve into tonight, as you and I have had many conversations with regards to relationships. And of course, we've been on many platforms together in various rooms with regards to relationships. So blessings to all of you coming in the room. Thank you all. Welcome to the Late Night Love Chat, where we are all about the business of building healthy love relationships. Again, family, please go ahead and share the broadcast. Drop three names in the comment section, if you will. What that does here on Facebook, it essentially tags people and brings people into the broadcast. And so thank you in advance, family. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all greatly. So listen, let's get into it. Let's jump right on in, Brenda, because I
Okay.
don't want to waste time in no salad bar conversation. Let's get right to it. So, first and foremost, the question we're asking tonight, Brenda, is did you wait too late for love? And as I said at the outset of the broadcast, that many of us, we have legitimate reasons as to why we waited so long in life. And when we're talking about waiting a long time, we're talking about waiting until we're in our 40s, and even some of us waiting into our 50s until we are getting married for the first time. And typically, the age for marriage, and it has been this way traditionally here in North America. Of course, it differs as you travel around the world, but here in North America, the age traditionally has been somewhere between 21 and 25 when people are getting married, traditionally speaking. That shifted when we got to the 80s going into the 90s, where education, women being more successful entering into the workforce, women's earning potential increasing significantly, and it should, because women should get paid, especially when it comes to intellectual properties, intellectual things, and other duties that women perform at the same level of men. They should get paid the same amount as men. It shouldn't be lowered. So shout out to all the women in the working class. The challenge with that, Brenda, is shout out to Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan says, I'm every woman. It's all in me, right? And so, the challenge with that, though, is can you be every woman and can you have it all? And my response to that, Miss Brenda, is this, that yes, you can have it all. You just can't have it all at the same time. You can't be wife, mama, and hardcore business sister in the corporate world or whatever vocation you're pursuing. You can't have all of that at the same time, because if you are pursuing going up the corporate ladder, that's not a 9-to-5 job. That's a 50 to 60 and 70-hour work week. So if you're putting in that kind of time in the pursuit of your corporate goals, your career goals, then where do you have time to be a wife and a mother, right? Because then let's break it down like this, Brenda. I'll take you to Southern California. So now the average person who commutes back and forth to work is spending, on average, this is not exceptional at all, on average, the average commuter that's going back and forth to work every day is spending an hour and a half, 90 minutes to 3 hours on the road each day. From 90 minutes to 3 hours on the road every day. All right. So let's just round it off and say 2 hours. Okay. So 2 hours every day, Monday through Friday, that's 10 hours a week. So you got 10 hours a week just on the road to get to the job. You got 60 hours that you're putting in on the job, right? So that's 70 hours. So that's almost having 2 jobs right there. Right? And then this poor woman has to come home and she has to be a wife and she has to be a mother. And let's just give her 1 child. Okay. Let's just give her 1. So she has the child. Then she's got the other child, that man, that she's taking care of, right? And let's just say that her husband is a man who cooks. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to have my woman. I'm not going to have my wife with all that burden on her. I got it. I'm home before she's home. So I'm going to go ahead and cook this food and boom, feed the baby, boom, help the baby, help our baby with homework or whatever. But by the time she comes home, Brenda, even if all of those things are things she doesn't have to be worried about, she is still worn the heck out. And the only thing that woman is ready for is for Calgon to take her away and go to bed so she can do it all over again. Miss Brenda, I'm going to jump in right here and ask you the question. If that is the life for our career-minded, career-driven women, my question is, how does a woman find balance in her life to be a good mother and a wife?
Hmm.
That's
You know,
that's a question.
as I heard you say that, Dr. G, I'm sitting here smiling because I'm going, I wonder if people are really listening to what you said, because you talked about the commute to and from. I was in DC and I had that same level of commute back and forth. Sometimes it was 2 hours there, 2 hours back. I literally would have to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning to get on the road so that I could get to the gym in 15 minutes, as opposed to spending 2 hours on the road. So that way I could get the 2 hours to work out instead of being in the car. And then I would spend my whole day working. I was an active duty Marine. Then I would go back, commute in the opposite way, and meet my spouse at home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to think about this. Our society has gotten to a point where women no longer have the luxury, and I say luxury because I see it as a luxury, of being stay-at-home moms. Now we require two-income households.
Right. Right.
And the reality for most women that are married, their husbands are not, after both of them are commuting for the same said 2.5, and we're going to round up to 2 hours, they're
Mm-hmm.
back, and the hours that they spend at work. When he comes home, he's off. When she comes home, she is now taking care of kids, taking care of housework, and taking care of him. I know this because when I talk to my clients and stuff like that, it is in a lot of American households, the man comes home and he is actually off work. The woman comes home to her second job, which is the family. So it is hard for women um, to do all that. And here's where having a partnership really matters, Dr. G, because when I talk to couples, I'm always amazed that the man is upset because the wife is not in the mood to swing from the chandeliers after doing that 2 hour commute, 8 hours, sometimes 10 hours at work, 12 hours if you're a nurse doing the swing shifts. I
Mm-hmm.
worked in a hospital at the time when this came up. And he worked the same hours. He come home, he couldn't understand why his dinner wasn't cooked. She wasn't ready to swing from the chandeliers, and the kids weren't cleaned. Yet he did not wash one dish, do any laundry, or anything. Now, there are those men that are the exceptions.
Yeah, Miss Brenda, I'm gonna
And I
stand up
know,
for our
no,
brothers.
I'm gonna stand up for the
I
brothers.
come from that household.
Yeah,
I
but
come
that's
from
not.
that household.
But please know that's not the norm, Dr. G. And I'm sure your research will bear this out. I also want to say this here when I'm talking about that. Mad props to the brothers that understand that they contribute. They would have a wife that would have some energy, because there's nothing sexier to most women than a man. And again, though, I will say, let me fix that. It depends on their love language. For me, it's service. I didn't think there was nothing sexier than when my husband took out the trash, cleaned the floor, or did something to help with the baby. I was blessed. I had a husband that took the baby so much that people didn't know the kid had a mother. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
he was on that. But the reality is it takes two people to run a household.
Yes.
Women are still being required to run homes as if they are stay-at-home moms, although they have jobs working just as hard as their mates. And so when you have that type of a situation, if we do not begin to have open, honest conversations with our spouses, significant others, or whatever they call them nowadays, because we got all kind of different dynamics going on. If we don't have those open, honest conversations, there is a high level of burnout between those women that are trying to have it all. And I think it's real important that we get clear that it's a lot of single women households, so they're doing it all anyway. And then if you have a partner and you're still doing that, I think that would contribute to why we see a lot of women are chasing careers and stuff. Because what is the advantage for a young woman coming up when you say, go get married and have babies, when what she is seeing is those women that do that are burnt out, frustrated, busted, and disgusted. And on top of that, once they get pregnant, have a couple of kids, gain some weight, the men move on to the younger, newer model. That's not an incentive to get into this type of situation. What say you, Dr. G?
Well, I have two thoughts to that, Brenda. And thank you for breaking it down like that. I have two thoughts to that. Number one, um, you are correct that the median income range and what it takes to build a family nowadays and to run a household that's not even affluent, but just a household that's living, just the basic life here in America, um, it takes way more money nowadays. And in most cases, it takes two incomes. Um, I submit, however, that that's because many people, not all, but many people are trying to live a certain lifestyle rather than living within their means.
I would agree with you there.
Men and women were living within their means because the average person with a bachelor's degree in America, the average man with a bachelor's degree, his income is between 48 to 60,000 a year. Okay, that's average. A man with a master's degree is between 53 to 80,000 a year. All right. Again, that's the average median income range in America. Of course, in states like New York, my home state of California, those incomes are going to be higher because the cost of living is significantly higher. For example, gas here in Georgia is only $3.45 a gallon. Some people might say, only, what are you talking about? Well, in California, it's almost $6 a gallon. So yeah, here in Georgia, I say it's only $3.45 a gallon. Last time gas was $3.45 in California was in 2015. Yeah. So, so that said, Brenda, and again, this is the median income range for people with bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. Okay. So, and that's not a black thing, that is across the board in North America. So now how do we offset that? Well, if a couple is, again, living within their means, then they can find ways, Brenda, they can find ways to, if a woman decides at a certain point in her life and the husband and the wife are in agreement that we're now going to start building our family, then they have to find some creative ways so that the woman doesn't have to go out the door to go and get on a job. And the pandemic has taught us, Brenda, and you and I have been beneficiaries of this, that the pandemic taught us that we can find a plethora of creative ways to generate money and never have to leave out the door. Brenda, as the Soulutionist, you are a master of this. Right? Mm-hmm. And so that said, I honestly feel as though, and this is just my personal opinion on this one, Brenda, mm-hmm. I'm not going to throw any stats at it. This is just my personal feeling, just based on 20 years of experience. I believe that many of our women who are wives, who are mothers, they see it as settling if I can't go out there and be in the competitive marketplace, rather than investing myself as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, investing myself into my family. And my husband and I will find creative ways how to generate revenue so that my primary focus is on my family. I feel that many of our women today, Brenda, choose the competitive nature of the marketplace over family. And that's where it becomes problematic, because, Brenda, you are right. A man comes home from work, and generally speaking, although I didn't experience this in my household because my dad was different, I was different. I'm the one that's doing the tutoring of the kids. Okay. I take complete charge of that, because that's just something that I love to do, and I do it naturally. And I know how to be patient with kids till they get it, not popping them upside the head and fussing at them because maybe they didn't get it the first or second time, right? Because that's how, I was handled by my mom. So I wasn't going to do that to my kids, right? So, but that said, Miss Brenda, generally speaking, women are having 4 jobs. She's got to go to work. Then she comes home. She's got to manage the household, which includes cooking, cleaning. Then she's got the kid or the child or the children. And then she's got her husband. So generally speaking, women have 4 jobs. And so it's difficult. Thankfully, there's a growing number of men who understand that and are working to be balanced with that, so that there is a significant degree of partnership in the marriage relationship. But traditionally, a lot of men are just not conscious of that. And so my thinking is, Brenda, if we can't come together and figure out how the husband can go out to work, and then the wife doesn't have to leave out of the house to go to work, which is asking a lot for a woman who's put in 4 to 6 years or more in getting her education, and now you want her to stay home to be a mom. And a lot of women are just not down for that program, Miss Brenda. So I hope that I at least spoke to some of what you're asking. That's how I see it. That's the research that I've done, and those are my personal experiences.
And I think you must be hanging out with a lot of exceptional brothers. So I'm gonna stand 10 toes down for the women on this one with you, Dr. G, because I want you to go back with me. Tell me again that medium income you gave me for the ones just with the bachelor's degree. Let's talk with the basic there. Okay.
Median income range. Yeah, median income range. And stats are going to vary.
Well, no, just what you said. Just use what you said.
But yeah, generally speaking, men who have bachelor's degree here in North America, generally their salaries are between 48 to 60,000 a year. Generally,
okay, let's just for the fun of it say they're actually making $60,000 a year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how many kids?
This includes, by the way.
How many kids do they have?
This includes, by the way, police officers as well.
Okay. And how many kids are they having? On the average people you're coming across? 1, 2, 3, 4. What is it? 1, 2? Did you say 2?
Yeah. Let's just say 2.
Okay, so we're gonna take that up and we're gonna add another. Because I always say do the math, Dr. G. Everything to me in my life, I don't care what I can do the math for a bubble bath. And when you're telling us that I'm gonna add the 7,000. All I did here, I'm not talking. I didn't add any extras. Okay.
Okay.
I'm talking for 2 children, just childcare, $14,000 a year. Okay. That's here in Goldsboro, North Carolina. If you have cell phones for 2 adults, that's an additional $4,272. You do a cell phone what do you call it? Water bill here in Goldsboro, $1,656 a year. Rent, if you a 1-bedroom apartment here, $1,800. So I can't imagine what it is where you're in LA or New York or everything. That's $21,000 right there just for rent. You add in a car payment.
What is the average rent you said? What is the average rent?
$1,800. I was shocked. I was like, what in the world? And I know this because
in North Carolina,
where I'm at is $1,800.
The average rent is $1,800 a month in North Carolina.
If you are not doing, yes, and that was the one that wasn't even the good one. When you're talking about over here, because I thought it was a joke. I went out and checked this out just recently because someone told me that. I thought they were lying. They were not. I'm going, I don't get, this is a 1-bedroom place here. This is not a luxury apartment, Dr. G. Now, okay, there are trailers that you can get that I wouldn't put my worst enemy in for $600. So if you want to do that, we can take it in half. But I'm telling you right there. No.
We ain't gonna put people in the trailer.
I'm talking a place that a working couple would get. Okay. And now that's a 1-bedroom. Now you just said they got 2 kids, so you just went all the way up into the 2,400. We're gonna do low, $21,000 a year, and just for 10, if it's a mortgage for a house, $1,800 average mortgage around here, that's still $21,000. If you had the 3-bedroom ranch house like I have, okay.
Okay.
You add in 1 car, just the car payment, average 5, but what they're getting that's not necessarily means $500 something a month. That's $6,744 for 1 car. That's not counting insurance. That's not counting. Okay, I put $2,400 for gas. You add in some grocery, use $400 a month for grocery. If you got a family of 3, you're already up to over $32,000 right there. We have not talked about clothes, toiletries, medical bills, any of the stuff like that. So when you look at that, and even if a young man was bringing in $60,000, when you add, and those are just necessities that I talked about here, the basics so they can get back and forth to work. A $60,000 income is not going that far, even here in Goldsboro, North Carolina. And where I live, the median income is $23,000.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Now I'm just mentioning that to say this. There's not a lot of incentive for our young people here to get married because first off, if you get married and you're making $23,000 for the median income here, where are you going to live when that's just barely going to pay for your rent if there's only one person working?
Right.
And then you also have to look at the way our society is right now when it's all about me. You see it everywhere. What's the incentive for male or female to get married and put themselves in that level of financial burden? And then the other part is we've told our young women over the years now. I'm 61. I grew up with the belief that good girls don't. You get married, you live happily ever after. Well, I tried that 3 times, didn't work. 3 strikes, I'm out. Okay. I did it in the young phase there. But statistically, Dr. G, like what you're talking about, if a woman doesn't marry by the time she's 30, she's got a 1 in 2 chance that she'll ever get married. Once she hits 40, she got a 1 in 5 chance. Once she hits 50, she's got a 1 in 16 chance. And guess what? I'm 61, about to be 62. There's a 1 in 62 chance that I will find a mate. What is the incentive for a person? Did I wait too late for love? Absolutely not. I've loved and lost. However, for those coming up behind me, if you put all your time into your career, then and you get to this age, like you were mentioning earlier about some young ladies that's now saying, I want to be married, your chances of finding a suitable mate are slim to none. Not because that is not that men are not also seeking good partners, but what is the incentive for a man to now go for a woman like me? I don't ever have to work another day in my life, Dr. G. I don't, I'm one of those women where they say I have everything but a man. So when a man comes into my space, he's like, what can I do for her? She already got her money. She already got her house. I own my home. I own my car. I don't owe nobody nothing but love. So a man that's coming to me after at this age, he's a widower maybe, or he has been married 2-3 times himself. What is the incentive for marrying a woman like me when there are a lot of younger women that come with less baggage, less demands? I've been told I'm high maintenance because I won't settle for the things I did in my 20s. Now, when you talked about the way that this conversation is often framed is that did women wait too late for love? I would say to the younger women out here now, make an informed decision. If you have the thought that you want kids and you want a relationship, I hope that in their younger years they will pursue that because they have a better chance of making that happen the way our society is set right now. If you have made the decision that you're going to chase that bag, then you have to understand that when you get to the age of 30, 40, 50, you may have a harder time finding a suitable mate because you've chosen to go after career and stuff. And these guys have already decided to get married when they were younger. They already had. I'm meeting men, Dr. G, right now at my age that have $80,000 in back child support. That is not a suitable mate for me and not for most women. But you see these things because we all come with different luggage. I think it's about us making informed decisions and having these kind of conversations where we lay it all out on the table and say, what you waiting for? And then we also have to explore why did women get to a place where they'd rather pursue a career than pursue love and child rearing? Because we haven't made it seem very attractive. And I'll go back to what I said earlier. There was nothing for me. I didn't want kids. I do have one, thank God. And I love my Alex. But I was one of those that pursued career. I wanted to keep going. I didn't have my child till I was 38. And I was married when I had my child. However, when I look back on that, I asked myself, why was that? And that was because I saw my friends around me who got married at 20, 21, 17, or stuff like that. They got married by the time they were 25, 26. They had 2 or 3 babies, and the husband done left them for the newer version. They were broke. They were struggling. They have no pension. They have no career. They have no college degree because they gave up college to do that. One of my marriages ended because I was not willing to give up my military career and be with him. That man who wanted me to give up my career would then divorce me 2 years later. Where would my life be right now had I given up my economic stability to do what he wanted me to do? I don't know. There's no do-overs for that. But many women find themselves, and you see it on the internet, they're talking about the trad wife. You take that track, you get married when you're young, you have your babies, you help this man grow, you do the Build-A-Bear plan is what a lot of women are calling it. And then once he's established, He trades up. You are now, if you have not established yourself financially, if you have not established yourself in the workforce, you're now behind the eight ball. And now you have 2 or 3 kids with you while you're doing that. That
So
is
to
not
be
very, what do you call it, appetizing for
sure.
the women coming behind me.
So to be fair, Brenda,
Mm-hmm.
this is what's problematic
Okay.
about relationships in general, that there's all these stories and they are true that you just shared. Unfortunately, we're only looking through that lens and we're not looking at through the lens of the many, many, many stories of women who did work with that man until he graduated and then boom, he blew up and they blew up together. Or for the men who said, you know what, baby, I'm gonna work and I'm gonna let you go to school and I'm gonna put you through school and I'll do this and I'll do that. And we'll put together this 5-year plan while you finish and get your degree. Like those stories are not shared and not told. And so, unfortunately, we only are looking through the lens of pain. We're only looking through the lens of infidelity. We're only looking through the lens of divorce and all of these different things. And Brenda, again, not to minify the significance of what you just shared, because those are true things and they are in large numbers, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
However, what also is true are men like my grandfather, men like my dad, men like me who married a woman who had children, and I'm helping to take care of her children, right? And so those stories don't get talked about. The
And I'm
story
glad
of
that
my
you
dad,
did
the
talk about,
story of
you
my
talked
dad,
about
my
them.
mom and my dad getting a divorce, and then my dad raising 2 children on his own. And so I think, unfortunately, when the narrative is only negatively shared, then we only have a negative perspective. And then to your point, Miss Brenda, then marriage is all of a sudden not appealing or not appetizing, to use your word, because we don't even see the possibility of having someone who would be fully committed to you and be committed to you not just for a short time, but committed to you for a lifetime. We don't even see that possibility. We look at the lens, we look through the lens rather, of, well, yeah, girl, you can be with that man, but trust me, as soon as you have 2 kids, he gonna dump you and trade up and go get a younger model. And that has happened. It has happened on both sides. But should we be in a place where we say, I don't want to invest myself into building a real love relationship because of the many stats of saying that people are subject to leave you if you start going through, or leave you when you are no longer, you know, that image of what they initially fell in love with? So my thought process, Brenda, in conclusion, is we have to think better and we have to operate better in order to have better results. We can't stay in this place. It's not healthy. It's not being fruitful. For the
Well, let me,
last
can I
20 years,
interject
it's
in
not being
here,
fruitful.
Dr. G? Here's the thing. I'm glad that you said that about the lens in which we view a thing, because let me put the positive spin on it then so that you don't think that I don't see the positive. First of all, I was raised by William Shepherd. He was not my biological father. My mother had 3 kids and adopted one, a fourth, Ronald, who was my brother, adopted. When William Shepherd came into our life, he raised us while my father lived down the street with him, I mean, blocks from me. But William Shepherd raised me. That was my dad. Okay. He
Mhm.
saw my mom. Everybody thought he was crazy. Why are you going with that woman with them 3 kids? I remember the first time he came into our house, Dr. G, he brought us in front of we had a big long staircase. He said, "You see these stairs?" Yes, sir. He said, "Those are the only steps in this house." That man was my daddy. He was the one that I cried on his shoulder. He was there. He was the 10 toes down. You know, when mama said no, Buddy was like, "Here, girl, take care of that." You know, he took me, made sure I had money to go to my prom, all that stuff. So I know there are men out there that will go in and raise a family that they didn't necessarily birth. Also, when you talk about the divorce and all that stuff, we always hear the statistics that 50% of divorces 60% of marriages end in divorce. But what we don't talk about, well, there's 50% that didn't. Marriage is only going to end two ways: death or divorce.
Succeed.
So there's 50% that stayed. We talk about the statistics of infidelity. 20% of married men cheat, and 13% of women. Well, if that's the case, then that's good news. I say, why is that good news? Because that means 80% of the men are not cheating. They are being monogamous. They are in their marriages. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're raising their families. They're in the home. But no, we do not talk about the 80% because we're too busy on the salacious, negative lens view of what's wrong.
Exactly.
So, and when you talk about the situation, I did a survey, 150 men, asked them, when you get married, do you expect your wife to work? Every single one of them said yes. And when I asked them, why is that? They all said,
what
because
men were you interviewing?
I was
Because most of the men I know absolutely disagree with that. But go ahead, Ms. Brenda.
Well, and like I said, you must know some exceptional men, Dr. G, because when I'm talking to the women that's coming through here, I asked them, how many of you were given the opportunity, or your husband said to you, when we get married, I don't want you to work? I deal with thousands of women. I just left a conference over 500 people, Dr. G. We had the women's circle. How many of you? There were 2 women that raised their hand and said they were stay-at-home women out of that whole thing. So I'm saying what's going on in our society is that is not the norm. How many times are women vilified when they do stay home with their kids because their husband has allowed that? The average couple nowadays do not have the finances to allow for that. Now, there are some men that do want that, desire that, and work to have it. I'm not saying they don't, but that again is not the norm. And I'm not saying we need to always look on the lenses. We're not going to go back to Leave It to Beaver times. Right. We are in a situation right now where our economy does not allow for us to have a traditional where the woman gets to stay home and raise her kids.
That's right.
My very best friend, Bishop-elect Benita Jenkins, was a stay-at-home mom. And I remember her feeling bad because she stayed home. I was working every day. We had our kids at the same time. I was so jealous that Benita got to stay home with her kid. She used to cry because she had to stay home. She has a master's degree. But years later, when we go back and we look at the difference, how smart her child is, her son could read before he even got to kindergarten, so because she had the time to pour into him. He's a strong young man. And when we look back now, hindsight is 2020. That young man's not in jail, went to college, he came out. I mean, come on. There are some benefits to being able to have a mother in the home that can pour into her child without the distraction of work. I will never, ever tell you anything different. I would say any woman that has the ability to do that. The problem is nowadays, even when women are given the chance, they don't want to take the chance because society has told them that being a mother is not that important. And that's a lie from the pit. Dr. G, if more women could stay home with their kids and actually raise them the way that we were raised when I was growing up, we'd probably have less crime and different things because you got a mama that's there that's teaching and developing. What's that thing called? Home training. There are things I see kids do in Walmart to their mama that if I did it, she'd come out her grave right now and slap me tasteless. I didn't talk back to my mom. I knew respect. She taught me respect at home so that when I got outside, I knew how to respect other people. Now our kids are being raised by iPads and computers and television. So there is a problem with that. But it's not just only that we're looking through the lenses, Dr. G, but our current societal norms is making it hard for people to see the traditional way of raising kids or being in a marriage even. And I want to go back because you started this out about, did you wait too late for love?
Well, before you go there, Brenda, let me address this piece that you just shared. So the operative word here that you just used was societal norms. So we just have to change what's normal. We have to normalize not needing to drive $100,000 cars. Come on.
Absolutely.
Most of the people we know drive Beamers, Benzes, and Lexuses.
I don't.
Like it's a shame to drive a Honda. Like it's a shame to drive a Toyota Camry. Like it's a shame to drive a Ford Focus. You know what I mean? I've had those cars, and it's wonderful. But what's normal now are people that don't even make enough money in 1 year if they had to buy that car and pay cash for it. They don't even make that in 1 year, but that's what they're driving,
That's what
right?
they
And
do.
so what
In
we
front
have
of a
to
mobile home.
normalize, societal norms have to change. That's one thing. And from a kingdom perspective, Brenda, we have to normalize um, men and women coming together and deciding what's best for their family rather than letting society and even the church dictate how people should live.
Say it, Dr. G. Say it.
Because if the woman has a career and she's more educated and she has greater earning potential and that's what she wants to do, it's asinine to ask that woman to stay home when she has the potential to make 120,000 a year and her husband making 75. It's asinine to do that. But now what we have to do, again, normalizing that this family is going to do what's best for them so that she's not getting jammed up in church. So when y'all going to have a baby? It's not feasible for them to have a child right now. They're only in their second year of marriage. She's still building in her career. He's still gaining and then going back to school because he wants to get to the six-figure level where his wife is. So his wife is not taking the lion's share of the burden financially, right? And so all of these things are a factor. All of these things factor into how we are governing our relationships. But
Can you talk about that part you just said about, you said if she's six-figure and he's not. What about the problem that how it's viewed when the woman makes more than the man and how the man perceives it? I'm hearing the Bible Belt, Dr. G, and there are a lot of educated women.
Is the question, Brenda, how the man perceives it or how he's perceived?
Both, because here I have a lot of women, they got more degrees than thermometers and their husbands don't necessarily do. And I've seen dynamic women shut down because their husbands were uncomfortable with the amount of money they made, or it became a power struggle because women lorded over their husbands because of the money they made. So that's a conversation too that has to be had with, is the man comfortable being with the woman that makes more money? I've had men break up with me because of the amount of money I make. They weren't comfortable with that. So there's a lot of dynamics. I know there's a lot to unpack with this, Dr. G, especially when you know more women are being educated now than ever before.
It's true.
Like I said, you got sisters with more degrees than thermometers. And they have, like I said, I can get on this phone right now and call right now over 20 women I know that are beautiful women with good personality, women of God, women of faith. Men look at them, but as soon as they find out what they rolling with, they ain't got nothing to say to them but bye. They're the group that are, like I said, we got everything but a man, Dr. G. And it's not that they don't want relationships. These are not toxic women. These are women that are believing God for their husbands. But when you come across that, if you meet a gentleman, even when you say, I know you don't have that, they're uncomfortable and won't even want to pursue a relationship with us because of the amount of money we have or where we are financially. See, I learned how to invest when I was young. So I was already thinking, husband, you give me something. A man that puts me in his life, he's going to be a blessed man because I multiply anything that puts in my hand. Most women do. Good women do.
Good women do.
Good women do.
Let's use that as a starting point to this conversation, Brenda, because I love what you just shared and it's factual. The challenge becomes from a societal level, from a cultural or environmental level, and then from a family level, that the woman who is making a good portion of money, and she can have a hard-working, dedicated, integral man, but the fact that she earns more than that man, her friends and family members will tell her, you're unequally yoked.
Absolutely. And it's a lie.
And so it becomes tremendously, it becomes a terrible pressure on her, unfair. And then she's feeling the pressure. And so where does that pressure go? It's going to come on him. Right. And so I would definitely agree with you wholeheartedly, Brenda. most men are terribly uncomfortable. And this is not a black man thing, because in
No,
my
no.
experience, I interview all men, and
Mhm.
most white men will tell you straight out he would never marry a woman who makes more money. Asian men will tell you flat out he would never marry a woman who makes more money. And
Mhm.
Latino men, um, they're kind of, I would say 60-40. 60% would say absolutely no. 40% would be okay with it as long as she doesn't lord it over him. Right.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
there is a growing number of Black men who are okay, but the biggest factor in this, Miss Brenda, is men of any ethnic background. They don't ever want it to be lorded over them. They don't ever want to feel like she's usurping authority, because you've heard, Brenda, and you and I have
Uh-huh.
been in many rooms together where we've heard women say, if I'm making the most money, I'm calling the shots.
Mhm.
He ain't gonna tell me what to do with my money. But we forget that if you get married to this man, your money is his money. We forget that. But the scripture tells us that the two shall become one, and we are one flesh, and we are one in everything. But somehow that gets forgotten about when it comes to finances. So that's where it becomes problematic, Brenda. I personally believe a marriage can work. I've seen it work. I've seen my godparents were married for 47 years before my pops passed away, and I've seen their marriage work. And most of their lives together, well, I shouldn't say most of their lives together. Most of their lives together, he made more money. But in the last, I would say the last 10 to 15 years of their life, mom was making more money because pops was more so in retirement phase. Um, so it can work, but it just has to be an understanding that we're not going to let money be a divisive force in our marriage.
I was blessed, Pastor G, that my ex-husband trusted me with his money. Once he figured out that I was better with money than him, he simply gave me his entire paycheck, to the point it would frustrate me because he never questioned how I spent money or what was going on. And I'm happy to say, when we divorced and I was able to give him all the investments and stuff, he was in shock. He's like, "What?" I was like, "This is what I've been doing with your check all these years."
Yeah.
Because he trusted me so much. He never checked our bank account. I could have been doing all kind of things, but I was actually investing our money, making sure that because I'm thinking long haul, we're going to travel, go around the world.
Mhm.
We had all these plans. I'm planning my 25th wedding anniversary. So, and I would always counsel women when I talk to them to don't hold money over men, because men's greatest need was respect. And when you do that to a man, you break them. You cannot expect to have a good sex life with a man that you lording over
Right.
money or anything, when you're not creating safe spaces for that man to be a man. Money doesn't make him your husband. How much money you make doesn't make you queen of the castle. If you
Right.
would all combine it, I'm not. And here's the other thing too, Dr. G. I advocate for women to have their own bank accounts as well as the marital bank account for both people,
Absolutely.
for the purpose of making sure, because if your spouse was to pass, there are things you need to have your own credit and things like that. I'm not saying have it to create your escape route, but there should be some financial planning that goes into that allows for you to be whole no matter what happens in your marriage. And there is a
Wholeheartedly agree.
healthy way to manage money where nobody has to lord over anybody. And one of the biggest things, I call it the red flag for me. If I talk to a young couple and
Hmm.
that woman is already talking, this man talking down him, I said, don't, I will say, you don't want to marry her. She already sees she don't have a vision for what marriage is. I
Right.
will, and I say that to people. See, there's no shame in my game. Too many people are allowing people to get married when they see the train wreck coming. She already telling you that if you don't act right, I ain't gonna give you none. If you don't say things the right way, boy, you are creating. You are. I know she cute now, but it's not going to be cute when she telling you, if you don't do this, I'm not going to give you that. It ain't going to be cute when she out here buying Prada and Nada and you can't get a car to go to work. I've
Right.
seen that, Doctor.
I've
And
seen
they
it too.
knew this before they got married.
Right.
We got to
And
have
so
these
this
conversations.
this this is the challenge. And so um I believe, Brenda, if more women had the mindset that you have, where a woman comes into a relationship and she sees herself as being one with her husband, um, and he sees himself as the same, I believe that more marriages can be healthy and can be happy.
Mhm.
even if she makes more money than him. Because what does a woman need? A woman needs security. She just
Security.
needs to know that her man is working hard and he's doing the best that he can, utilizing all that he has to take care of the family. And gentlemen, if you're watching this broadcast tonight, let me share this with you. If you are dating and or engaged to or married to a woman who makes more than you, brothers, let me bless you. There's only a couple of things that you have to do to serve as the leader, as the headship of that household. Number one, your money, doesn't matter how much money she makes, okay? Her money is inconsequential. Your money has to be able to take care of the house note. Okay.
Mhm.
Your money has to be able to take care of water, lights, and gas up in this mug. Your money has to be able to put groceries in that fridge and in that pantry. Okay. The fundamental needs of the household have to be met with your income. If you're not there, brothers, it's okay, but you got to work to get there before you get married. Because one of the four keys that God requires of us as men is to be a provider. All right. I call these Dr. G's 4 P's. You can write them down. Number one, you have to be a man that has a relationship with God. So you got to be able to have a prayer life. If a man don't know how to pray, if he can't touch God, he's not going to be able to, he's going to be limited with what he can accomplish because he's not tapped into the unlimited resource, the unlimited source. Right.
Mhm.
So he's going to be stuck trying to figure out how to use his resources instead of being tapped into the unlimited source. So a man has to be able to pray. Number two, he has to be able to provide. Number three, he has to be able to protect. Now, let me go back to provide. Provision is not limited to finances. Okay. There are several ways that a man provides. All right. For example, brothers, listen, if your wife is a business owner, boom, your ability to help her expand her business, your ability to serve within her business so that she's able to save money because you know how to do drywall, you know how to do plumbing, you know how to do wood, you know how to lay a floor down. So now she don't have to spend $2,000 to $5,000 to $8,000 for that. And you can do it and do it well. If you can do that, boom, you have just provided something awesome for her, right? And she didn't have to spend no money. Right. So now that's the duality of you investing in your woman as well as providing for your woman. All right. So pray, provide, and then protection. All right. Protection, that's just a given, brothers. You know, God requires us to be protectors of our women. And in fact, the Bible tells us that we are to love her as Christ loved the church, who gave himself for her, which means, brothers, our love for her is a sacrificial love, that we are willing to give our very life to protect our wife. All right. And then the fourth P is pour, that you have to be able to pour into your woman. All right. Encourage her. You have to know how to build her up. Okay. She shouldn't have to be, she shouldn't have to be looking to go get counsel from anybody else.
Mhm.
You should be her primary confidant. You should be her primary resource, who she gets wise counsel from. All right. Now, every woman should have a girlfriend. And ladies, y'all need to be having some girlfriend conversations and not having every single conversation with your man. Okay. Because there's some things that women need to talk about. Yeah.
Can I interject right there, Dr. G? Because you just said something, and I got to put a pin in
Yes,
it
ma'am.
before we go any
Come on.
further
Come on.
about the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You just said about that you should be her, he should be her number one confidant.
Yes.
Ladies, your pastor is not your number one confidant. I am tired of seeing these women that will listen to their pastors before they listen to their husbands.
Come
That is
on,
not
Miss Brenda. I'm
order.
gonna let you go
He is
solo.
not the head of your house. There is too many women in the church letting their pastors run their house and disrespecting their husbands. Got to cut that mess out. That's not Bible. Your husband is the head of his house. The pastor is the head of his house. He is not the head of y'all's house. If your husband says this, your pastor don't get to override your husband in his own house. That's out of order. And we really have to stop that in the church. And also, your pastor does not get to tell you what you do with your husband behind closed doors. Out of order. And for those men that are allowing that to happen, get your house in order. That's my 2 cents right there, Pastor G. Just when you say that, the hairs on the back of my neck went up because I literally spoke to someone about a week ago in reference to that. She was saying, I said, did I just hear you say? And she said, first of all, you can't come in my house and talk about your husband like that. See, because you're talking about yourself. That's wrong. We got to stop doing those things.
That's right.
And even when, as a girlfriend confidant, I am blessed that I'm surrounded by such mighty women of God, Pastor G, that if I had a husband I was to talk about, they're like, no, you can't do that here. They're going to pray me through. They're going to call me out on my BS. And they're going to make sure that whatever I'm saying, doing, or whatever. See, submission's not a dirty word in my house. That it's not. I understand that we submit one to another. And when I allow my husband to be, when I say allow, and I do say the word, allow my husband to be a part, because see, I have to be allow means to be in agreement. That's all that means. I'm being in agreement that my husband has the final word on what goes in there. For those modern women that don't understand it, that's why your house tore up and the floor up. But when you understand how it's supposed to be done biblically, it's not a chore. It's not a hardship, because when a man loves his wife like Christ loved the church, really, I'll die for you. I'll provide for you. I'll protect for you. I'll pour into you. You ain't stressing, ladies. He's keeping you informed. He's making decisions based on your best interests. And a man that does that is a man that's easy to submit to. And we have to let go of these societal things that say, girl, you better hold on to this or hold on to the bank. If we could come from a position of team us.
Yes.
You know, it's a different dynamic. And that goes to a lot about what you teach, Dr. G, is about mindset. See, I've always believed love is a choice.
Love is a choice.
I've been married 3 times, but yes, I want to get married again, and I want to love like there's no heartbreak. I don't want to hold nothing from my ex to my next. I don't want to hold them accountable for the men in my past, what they did not do. I want to be able to create a safe space that allows that man to be who God fully intended him to be, so that I can be who God fully intended me to be. Okay. And that means I have to find a man that has a mindset that would allow for that. He's not going to be asking me what I did with who or who, because in his mind, I ain't been with nobody but him. And that's all of those kind of real conversations have to go on. And we have to begin to have the kind of conversations like what you're saying. Dr. G, if more people, when they were in the dating phase, would have real conversations and about their expectations. If you're a woman that expects to get married and be at home with the kids, don't marry broke Joe. You already know he can't support that.
That's right.
And if you're a man that expects a woman to stay home, don't marry the sisters on Instagram showing her behind every day, because she's trying to be out there in the world. She ain't trying to be in the house. We have to look at these things and get real about our expectations, what we say we desire and what we require. You know, there's nobody perfect, but if you know you have certain deal breakers and you know what your boundaries are and what your true expectations, and you can have that conversation with your potential mate. And we need to have them before we marry. You should not get married and find out that your wife's a nun, or your husband is one that has an appetite that you cannot satisfy. You don't want to get married and find out that your wife is a secret shopper. You know, those sisters that put stuff in cars and you don't see it till the bill come through, and then you going, what?
Now listen, Brenda, you tread in deep waters now, because listen, I would argue that there are more women who are secret shoppers than they are willing to admit.
Oh, absolutely.
All women are not like that, but many are covert operators in the shopping world. Oh my God.
That's why you have to be a detective, Dr. G. You know, if you get past her thighs.
Brenda, how can a man identify if his woman is a secret shopper?
Let me tell you, if you're
she works for the CIA.
When you spend time with a woman, you're the one. If you're out there, most brothers are cleaning cars, because where we hide them? Hide them in the back, hide them in the trunk of the cars. They under beds and stuff like that. Why are you not checking out how the sister clean her house? Don't just look on the surface. Open a closet door. Look under a bed. Pay attention. You told me I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with you, and I ain't never opened a closet door. I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with you, and I never find out what your credit score is. I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with you, and I don't know you got traffic tickets. I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with you, and I have not done any kind of investigation to find out how you treat people. I don't pay attention to how you talk to the waitresses at the restaurant. These red flags are so obvious, Dr. G, and most of us pass them out. You see how people treat people when you go out. How do they treat the doorman? How do they treat the janitor? They see these things, but we see the red flags and we go, oh, but they so cute. Baby, all that Brazilian weave and all that other stuff gonna come off, and her breath gonna stink, feet go just like everybody else. And if you do not figure that out before you get married, shame on you.
Well, Miss Carol said, just ask her. Carol, we did that. She wasn't honest. So just asking, like, yeah, that's.
Let me see your credit card statements. Let me see your bank statements.
Absolutely.
Let me open your closet doors.
Absolutely.
Let's go to
those kind of things need to be normalized. Just like the question is asked about what's your credit score like, what's your salary, yada yada yada. We need to be finding out what that DTI look like, right? We got to find out what that looks like, because
what's your biblical belief?
All right, so it is.
No, yeah. What's your biblical beliefs, Dr. G? How many Christians don't even find out? Does the man believe in praying you through? If you got a sister every time you with her and she ain't never prayed for you, you tell them you're going through, she never once said, well, let me pray for you, baby. You going somewhere. If she ain't checking that you got there safe, she ain't attentive. Is that the woman you want in your life, Dr. G? You travel all the time. You see a lot of women. If she ain't never asking you where you been, how you going, are you okay? Did you arrive safely? That woman ain't concerned about you.
Right. Absolute facts.
Good thing.
So let's shift, Brenda, because we've got about 15 minutes left. So let's shift. I want to talk about, because we covered a lot of ground there. So I want to talk about what are some of the things, and in alignment with where we are right here, what are some of the things that we can do to properly vet a relationship? Because here's where a lot of people are stuck. A lot of people are stuck in a place where there's a myriad of questions going on in their head. And of course, we talked about the myriad of questions and negative comments from family members, friends, and even the church, right? About who you're dating and who is she and who is he and so on and so forth. So those kind of things do impact us. Now, there are those of us who want to come with this false bravado and act like, oh, I'm not letting nobody's opinions do affect us.
They affect us.
There's a wonderful Chinese proverb that says, if you tell a man often enough he is a dog, eventually he'll begin to bark.
I like that.
The principle is that whatever you are hearing most often, you'll begin to believe it, even if it's not true.
Language matters.
Right? Every word matters. So that said, Brenda, question is this for you. How do we put systems in place for ourselves to properly vet a relationship? And I want you to help the men, and I'm going to speak to the women. So I want you to start off, Brenda, and speak to the men. What are some of the things that a man can do on a practical level? What are some of, because men, when we really, really love a woman, most of us just naturally trust her. We just naturally trust. That's why we don't open up that closet door. Number one, I'm scared something's going to fall out and then hamburger, I'm going to have to clean it up. You know what I mean? I don't know if she got a bowling ball up in there, whatever. You know, I mean, most of us men, when we really, really love a woman, we naturally trust, especially men who haven't been through a high level of trauma in previous relationships. We naturally trust. So what are some of the practical steps that you can advise us as men, Miss Brenda? Help us out, that we can put in place to vet a woman who could be the right fit?
I think one of the things I do with the men that I talk to is I tell them, I want you to think of it as a job interview. You know, does she have the qualifications to be hired as your life partner? Simple as that.
Oh my God! Wait a minute. Let's put some wisdom in it. You said, does she do what?
Does she have the qualifications to be hired as your life partner? Because that's what you're doing. When you approach a woman, you get, because men are visual. We know y'all like the way I hair do. You like the lipstick. Look at them lips. Come on, Dr. G. When a brother approaches me, he's like, first of all, I'm intelligent. Yes, ladies, I'm saying, I know I'm intelligent. I'm well read. I'm well bred. I have manners. You know, I have been properly trained on how to treat a man. Baby, I was groomed for love. So that part right there, I got that clear. But When you are hiring somebody for a position, there is a job description.
Mm.
What is your job description for the woman you say is going to be your life partner? Now, you know, there's the basics. Okay, she got to be 5'4". She got to be body slamming. She got to be this. Can the sister boil can she boil a pot of water? You know, if cooking's not important to you and you're a brother that grills and cooks, then maybe that might not be top on your job description. But if you want a woman that can throw down in the kitchen and she can't boil water, okay, she already don't qualify. Next applicant. Why are you still sitting with a sister that smokes and can't cook? It's not rocket science. When you interview somebody for a job, if they don't meet the qualifications, what do? You weed them out. But see, we would get caught up in our hips and the dips, and we forget she already is not qualified. As soon as she opened her mouth, you know she nasty because she didn't already got in your face. Why you got that shirt on? Who dressed you this morning? No, see, if you tell a woman, here's what I always tell men, the first thing, you know how you can vet them real quick and weed them out fast. I want you to tell them about something you want to do. Tell them one vision you have for your life. I see myself traveling over the next 5 years, and I like to go here, 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 here. What you got to do that for? I don't need to go nowhere. Oh, disqualified. She's not a traveler. If you are a man that like to go camping or something. See, I had a brother tell me recently, he said, yeah, I like the outdoors. I want to go camping. And I said, look, my idea of camping is a 5-star hotel with room service. So I'm not the one for you. I disqualified myself.
You served in the U.S. Marine Corps. You done all the camping
I'm going to do. He said, no, you go one time with me. And if you don't like it, you never have to go again. I said, here, sweetie, you don't understand. I'm already telling you, I'm not going to like it. And since that is your desire to be with a woman that is outdoorsy as you, I don't qualify. We just don't align. I like you, but no. So you're off my list. See, I don't have a problem disqualifying applicants quick. Mm-hmm. I do have a list of what I think it would take to be my life partner. So for you guys, think of it as a job application. Does the woman that you have desired to pursue meet the qualifications of the woman that you want to spend the rest of your life with? Now, and I asked guys to write it down. I had something as simple as one guy said, I just want a woman that will protect my peace. That's all he wanted. I said, that's very vague, but okay, if that's what you're feeling. Well, he did meet that woman. They sitting on the porch together here, right in Goldsboro, North Carolina. She on the porch, because she said the same thing. They didn't want much. But then I had this other, she got to be 5'9". She got to have a 32-inch waist and this much behind. And she
32-inch waist.
Oh, yeah. This is what he wanted. Now, he liked thick sisters, he said. He wanted her to have a college degree. He wanted her to be business minded. He wanted her to be able to preach down Gabriel. You know, I'm like, boy, he had a lot of qualifications. He found her, but he was specific about what he wanted. Most of us are more specific about them Lexuses. I wanted to have dual rims than we are about the mates that we pick in. So get specific, know the requirements for the woman you say you want to spend the rest of your life with. Like, you know, I'm surprised how many men don't like makeup or don't like weaves or braids or whatever. If a man says, I have one guy say, I don't like women with braids. Well, then baby, I don't qualify. Well, you can take them out. No, I'm not. This is who I am. I don't wear makeup. Lipstick is it. And I wear braids. If that is something you don't like, I already don't qualify. He was going to make me fit into that mold. Stop trying to make people qualify for things they don't qualify for. That's the most practical advice I can do. Men, be practical. Get clear on what you say your mate. What was it? You taught me something. What was it about? When we were talking about the height of a man. That's a preference. Are you telling me? When you said that, I thought, would I pass up a really good man because he was only 5'7"? I have. I know I have. Because my preference was 6'2" or above. And then I thought, well, what about if I'm only 5'9.5"? Maybe he'll be my height or taller now. But before, had to be 6'2".
Right.
Now, I had a valid reason for that because I like putting my head on and hearing his heart. At 6'2", you can do that.
Right.
But is that worth losing a fantastic man just because I might have to bend down to hear his heart? Dr. G, I say no. A few years ago, I would have said, oh, yeah, I got it. Ladies, we got to get rid of the frivolous things. What's his character? Is he loving? Is he affectionate? If that's not your thing, then maybe you want him to fix cars and wash your car and mow the grass or do whatever. Whatever it is for you. And gentlemen, I will go back to what you asked originally, Dr. G. Does she qualify to be your life partner. And here's the thing, she cannot qualify until you are clear on what the qualifications are. And most men have not gotten clear, and neither have the women.
I
Go ahead,
love
Dr. D.
it. All right. So, ladies, vetting. How can you vet? How should you vet? Well, first and foremost, and Miss Brenda just alluded to it, we have to let go of a lot of our preferences. Um, I made reference to this many times before, but it bears repeating. Dr. Susan Jeffers, who is one of my distant mentors, PhD in psychology, she published a book all the way back in 1989 talking about opening our hearts to men. And what Dr. Susan Jeffers highlights is 16 bullet points of women's expectations being unrealistic. And she highlights these 16 bullet points of expectations that women have that either prevent intimacy with their husbands or prevent intimate connections with men who could be their husbands. And one of the things that she highlights is that women's expectations are unrealistic. And so, ladies, modifying your expectations. Again, what Miss Brenda just said. Okay, so Miss Brenda's 5'9". What if here comes a phenomenal man in her life, but he's 5'11"? Okay, so she doesn't have to bend down to hear his heart, but maybe her head can't just get right up on his chest. But if he's 5'11", which the average man in North America is 5'10", Miss Brenda is considered a tall woman at 5'9". She's not an average height woman. So it's okay to want a man that's 6'2". That's okay. But would you bypass a good man who's 5'11"? That's a preference. It's not a need. That's your preference.
Yes.
Your need is a man who's integral. Your need is a man who's loyal to God and will be loyal to you. Your need is a man who communicates, which means he not only knows how to express his heart, but he is a good listener and he's in tune to your heart. Your need is that he's family oriented if you have a child or you have children. Those are needs, and those things are all congruent with your purpose. The other stuff is just fluff. It's just stuff that makes you feel good, that makes you check your little ego boxes. They're not needs. Okay, they're not. Well, I want to feel protected. Are you kidding me? I'm born and raised in South Central LA, Miss Brenda. I grew up around the real Crips, all these Crips and Bloods and stuff like that. Now, all these pseudo gangbangers, I grew up with the real dudes, like the OG to the triple OGs. Okay. And most of those dudes are short. They ain't big, tall, gangly dudes. These dudes are like 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", but will knock somebody out. All right. We call it the one-hitter quitter. The one-hitter quitter. It ain't gonna be no, we throwing it. It's like, bop, going to sleep. You know what I mean? So to minimize or to negate a man's ability to protect his woman because he's not tall is asinine. Because I've seen some big, tall dudes get knocked the heck out. You know what I mean? Now, I have grown up around some big brothers. Shout out to Debo, the late, great Tiny Lister. That was one of my big brothers. I prayed for Tiny, prayed with him and prayed for him. But most dudes are not that tall. So can you feel protected if you know a man is going to give his life, literally give his life to make sure you're good? Those are the things that you want to be concerned about. All right. So ladies, here's one of the things that, and Miss Brenda already gave it. Does he fit the description? So when I talk about fit the description, ladies, I mean that you have to have a vision for love. You have to be clear about what it is that you want and need in a relationship. All right. Ladies, if you don't have a vision, the scripture is plain. Where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. And so I find, Miss Brenda, that a lot of women, they are very clear about what they do not want.
Yes.
Not clear about what they really do want and what they really do need in a relationship. They're not very clear.
You know, that's true when you say that, because it's about, we're so used, it goes back to what you said earlier, the lens in which we view a thing. So many people are looking at their lack and not looking at their abundance. They're looking at, what you say, what they don't want, not what they do want. We have to begin to language people are so busy trading men for the same man, it's just a different body, that we often don't even go back to look at the patterns that we have for ourselves. And I thank God for your teaching, Dr. G, because you've really opened my mind to a lot of things. I know and I understand the difference between my wants and my needs and my preference and my requirements now. Had never really thought about it before, because some of the things I wanted was pretty, what do you call it? What is it? What's the right word for that? Superficial. Yeah.
Superficial.
Very superficial. When I kept saying I want the chocolate brother with the rock hard abs, he got to be 6'2", da 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 da. I'm like, when I look at I laugh at myself and I say, you wonder why you're not in a relationship, because your expectations was unreal. Now, I'm not saying for those women that you want to keep doing that, do that. Do you, boo? Be alone. But there's some fabulous men out here that are the same height as me. And that whole thing about when you find that right man, whether he is 5'9", 5'2", or the right woman, you're going to be able to hear their heart, because you're going to be able to feel that heart. And it's not going to be about having to lay your head necessary on the shoulder. And
Absolutely.
I think we don't give ourselves the opportunity. And I encourage the men and the women to write out, what do you really want in a man, in a woman, and not what you don't want, because where the focus goes, energy flows.
Absolutely.
I am so clear on what I want now, Dr. G, and I attribute that to being in your classes, taking your courses, being your mentee, all of those things that you teach us every night when you take the time to get on here 16 times a day, because you are just bent on getting us into healthy, non-toxic relationships. I'm listening, I'm taking notes, and I am adjusting my expectations. I'm raising my standards. I'm elevating my vision for love. I know I'm going to be able to love like there's no heartbreak. And
Amen.
also choose a mate that I am suitable for and that's suitable for me. So I thank you for
Amen.
that teaching. I want to say that in front of everybody. Give you your flowers.
Amen. Thank you, Miss Brenda. And to God be the glory. I'll give you these last two love nuggets, ladies. How do you vet a man to see if he has the potential to be the one? So this is a beautiful thing that Holy Spirit himself taught me, Brenda. And that is, ladies, that when you have a conversation with a man, okay, at some point, if you are conversing over time, I'm not talking about the first 1, 2, or 3 conversations, but over time, when you all are having conversations, okay, you all should pray together. All right. And then at some point, here's the revelation, here's the revelatory love nugget. At some point, when this man speaks, especially when he's giving you advice or wise counsel on something, you should hear the resonance of your heavenly Father speaking through him. You should hear the Father's voice speaking through that man. That's going to be one of your most absolute certain indicators to let you know if this man. Now, I'm not talking about being a gifted preacher. There's a bunch of gifted preachers that are on their way to hell if they don't change. So I ain't talking about gifted preaching. I ain't talking about, well, daughter, see, when God does a thing, he does it right. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about just plain conversation without no little churchy preacher-esque kind of twist on it. I'm just talking about plain conversation that you hear the Spirit of God, you hear the resonance of Heavenly Father speaking through him when he's talking to you. Okay? Which, of course, ladies, means that you better know the voice of your Heavenly Father so that you can hear the Father's voice in him. All right? Because if this man is going to serve as your headship, you better know that his headship is God. All right? So that's a revelatory love nugget for you. Now, the last practical love nugget I'll give you, ladies, is this. Your conversation with him and determining what his wants and needs are and where does he see himself in terms of his operating in purpose? Where does he see himself? What is the mission? What is the thing that drives him? Because, ladies, this is what you're going to have to connect to. After we get past the superficial, feelings and, oh, he looked good and, oh, he tall, dark, and handsome and all that. And, oh, he smells so good, girl. He was wearing that Savage. He was wearing, I mean, whatever. After you get past all of that superficial stuff, or is your life a good fit? Because what the scripture tells us, ladies, in Genesis 2, God created Eve for Adam and said, let us make for him a suitable companion. The root word of suitable is suit, which is something that's tailor-made to fit. It's customized. Spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, physically, are you customized for that man? And do you see him being customized for you? There are no perfect people. So if you're waiting for every single one of your little boxes to be checked, you're going to be waiting until Jesus come back. But if you can identify the primary things that are most important to you, that you need these things right here, like you need oxygen. And when you identify what those things are, and it should not be a laundry list, it shouldn't be a scroll of things that you have on your checklist. Hear ye, let me roll out the scroll and show you all that. It shouldn't be that. It should only be a few things that you really, really need in order to thrive in a relationship with someone. All right. And when you identify those things and those boxes are checked, you're looking at a man who has the potential to be your husband. Those are the things that we should be looking at, Miss Brenda, in vetting.
Can I add one more thing? And I know you talked about this before. Well, two more things.
By all means, yes.
Ladies, don't interrogate men. Have a conversation.
Oh, say it. Talk about it.
And because too many of y'all are acting like you are on a job interview and did this. Have conversations. They want to be engaged just like we do. They want to feel as if they're a priority, that they're important, and that we value them. And the other thing is remember, a man that is really looking for a real mate, he's not going to have you compromise your values. So there's too many times you see the red flags. I'm asking you to pay attention. It's not, I want you to be looking for the other shoe to drop, but listen to more than his words. Check his actions. And I'm asking you to check your actions. When you want to love like there's no heartbreak, that means you start with a clean slate. You give everybody the opportunity to be their authentic self. Take the time to get to know the man. Jesus. If he's spouting scriptures all day long, that don't make him a man of God. That makes him well-versed in the word. The devil knows the word.
That's right.
How is his character? Does he treat you like a lady? Do you act like one when you're around him? Make sure that you are clear on who you are and whose you are, so that when you get in these situations talking about, I want a mate, are you really prepared to show up like a mate in waiting?
Absolutely. Well said, Miss Brenda. Tell people how they can connect with you. What do you have coming up that people can come to? What is the latest, greatest product that is coming out of the Soulutionist portal?
The Soulutionist portal is it. That is where I do all my coaching at. And my coaching is a mind, body, and soul approach. I'm usually working with entrepreneurs, but I have a whole division that's cropping up with relationships, Dr. G, because people are looking to have solid relationships, because I believe that no one should have to sacrifice their family life or their business life. I'm working with those women that have faith and men that have faith, that want to have a work-life harmony. I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in there's a harmony that happens when you have a solid spiritual practice. You are clear on what you want. And I'll tell you guys the 5 questions I always ask everybody. And I ask you to ask this in all areas of your life. What do you want? Why do you want it? How does it benefit you? How does it benefit others? And what are you willing to do to get it? Because when you can answer those questions and you get clear on what you want in a mate, baby, you are unstoppable. You can get me at Brenda, the Soulutionist. That's SOULUTIONIST.com. And everything that I do is right there. And I'm also on IG as Brenda, the Soulutionist.
All right. Brenda, the Soulutionist.
Everywhere. IG, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, everywhere.
And that is, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the Soulutionist, not the Solutionist, but the Soulutionist, SOULUTIONIST. So here we go. This is how you can find Miss Brenda. Boom. She has the Soulutionist portal. You can find her at Brenda, the Soulutionist, the Soulutionist.com. That's Brenda, the Soulutionist. She is a 3-time best-selling author. She is a speaker. I am pushing her to get out more so that she speaks. She did a wonderful job most recently, but I am pushing her to get out of that wonderful palace of hers to go beyond the virtual to live, because as y'all can hear, she is all of that and a smooth bag of chips with a strawberry soda pop. Miss Brenda, it has been an honor, a pleasure having you tonight. You brought so much value to
Thanks,
this
Dr.
room.
G.
You all make sure you follow her on Instagram. Brenda, you don't have a page here on Facebook, no?
Yes, I do.
You
It's
do?
Brenda. Yeah, Brenda Warren. I'm on there as well. I have a Brenda Warren, the Soulutionist. I'm everywhere, Dr. G.
Okay.
I'm
Because I mean,
taking over the
we've always
world.
followed each other for years. For years, we've always followed each other on Instagram. But
Right,
yeah,
Instagram.
so look at Brenda, the Soulutionist. You can find her on Instagram. She's also here, Brenda Warren here
And on YouTube.
Facebook and on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right. This is your brother G Hightower, the Entanglement Coach. So glad that you all tuned in tonight. Abundant blessings to you. And we'll see you later by God's grace. Blessings, fam. Thank you for tuning in. God bless.